we commemorate the myrrh-bearing women, but in addition, today in the epistle, we reflect on the establishment of the diaconate in the life of the church. At a time when the church was growing in the one city of Jerusalem where it was in the first weeks and months following the Lord's ascension into heaven and following the day of Pentecost, there began to be a problem because there were so many people. Some were wealthy and gave their riches to the church to care for the poor, and some were poor and in need of assistance. And even in those early days, there was gossip, there was complaining. We should be shocked. The church was the same then as we find it now. Not everyone is happy. Some people think that others are preferred before them, but this is human nature. It says that some of the Hellenes, the Greek speakers, said that their poor were neglected in favor of the Hebrew-speaking people in the distribution. And the apostles looked at it and determined that they were doing their best, but then they said, this is not appropriate. If we begin to be a social services organization, we won't have time for anything else. They said it is not fitting, it is not appropriate, it is not what we are called to serve tables. Not that the tables don't need to be served. So for this reason, they sought out faithful men, people who had been with Christ from the beginning, who had followed in the course of all of his ministry, and they ordained them as the first 7 deacons to have care for these practical concerns and to assist in all the work that needed to be done. And we see from here the order of the diaconate growing in exactly these lines, to assist the priests in the practical work of leading the church. It is for this reason that the deacons can give communion, because this is a significant part of the priest's ministry, to go to the hospitals, to bring the sacraments to those who are confined at home or in the hospitals or in the nursing homes. Because much as the priest would like to go and visit everybody every week, if he did that, that by itself is a full-time job, never mind what else needs to be done. The care for the church, the preparation of the documents, the papers, the publications, the preaching, the teaching, the serving of the services, all of these things that the priest has the responsibility for. And in this parish, if we consider, we have a good practical example of how this looks, because we have the church, we have the school with the Greek school, we have the Grecian Center with the business that it does, with the ministry that it does to the downriver area. But the priest does not administer this by himself. There are faithful men and women who take on the burden of doing this, who care for the Grecian Center, who oversee its operations. Not that the priest is not involved, not that the priest is not centrally responsible, but there is a delegation of responsibility. There is a sharing of the burden and of the joy of service in the church. It is good simply that we reflect on this, that this is how the church is supposed to be, that this is our shared experience of the life of a church in Christ with the ancient and apostolic church. On the same token, it is worth noting that we hope and pray that the community will grow, that the young people who are sometimes busy, sometimes absent at work or at play, and not active in the life of the community, will return, will be more involved, will take a proactive, responsible engagement with the church as a central part of their identity, of their life on a day-to-day basis. And we hope and pray as well that we see more people coming and receiving communion, more people receiving the sacraments, more people present in church. And it is possible, if our prayers are answered, if we as a community bear fruit, that we might come to the point where we need a second priest or perhaps a deacon. And it is for this reason that I mentioned the diaconate and so forth, because there is a program. There is a means by which lay people, men who are pious, who are devoted, who are active in the life of the church, if they seek to become deacons, to be able to distribute the gifts, to be able to serve in the course of the divine liturgy. They do not become priests. They do not need to go get the full 4-year Master of Divinity, but they can, over the course of several summers and through long-distance learning, achieve what is necessary to be ordained as deacons. I don't have anyone in mind, but I mention this because it should be known that those who are faithful, those who are pious, those who are mature, those who are secure in life, not running from job to job, but those perhaps ideally who have retired but are still in the prime of good health, those who are well established in life. These are those whom we see in other communities becoming deacons. Those of you who know the Ann Arbor parish will know that Vasilios Pliakas was recently ordained as a deacon, and now he serves and assists the priest in that formal, technical role of a deacon in the Divine Liturgy and the worship over at St. Nicholas in Ann Arbor. There is a member of the parish council at St. Constantine and Helen has gone through the process and is preparing to complete it. If any of you know Strat Pelagius, he is preparing to seek the diaconate. There is a deacon, a permanent deacon now in Grand Rapids. There is a permanent deacon at St. George in Bloomfield Hills. In short, this is becoming a new, old thing in our churches. And those who have an interest in serving more formally, more permanently, and more actively in the life of the church are invited to consider this, to reflect on this, to pray about this, not as a matter of one day or 1 week's thought, but as a matter of years, to perceive whether there is a call to serve in this way and whether it is realistic and appropriate. So, we talked about the service of all the community, and I'm not just talking about the women when I ask if anyone is willing to come and clean the church. To clean the church is the responsibility of all of us, and I would hope and pray that we would only need to hire someone to do it if we cannot find willing hands and hearts to serve and to clean and to love the house of God. And that is open to everyone, regardless of age or gender. But those who would like to serve in that formal fashion, consider the diaconate. It is open, although there are many hoops to jump through. So, that concludes the sermon. That concludes the services. May God bless you all and bring you His peace and His joy as we continue to celebrate His resurrection in these great and saving days between Pascha and Pentecost. God bless you all. Christos Anesti. Christ is risen. Christos Anesti.